Welcome back, everyone, to the Paige Kornblue Show. You know, wine has a way of showing up in the moments that matter the most. Celebrations, conversations, even the quiet pauses in between. But what is it about wine that connects us all? Well, today on the show, we're going beyond that glass into the story, the science, and the soul of wine, specifically the soul of a lion with Daou Vineyards, and why even a single sip can mean something much more. I'm joined today by Reynolds. She's the brand ambassador for Daou Vineyards, who has spent her life immersed in wine from growing up in California wine country to now working right alongside winemakers on Daou Mountain. And we will talk about why wine brings people together, the story behind Daou's flagship Soul of a Lion vintage, and how experiences like Soul of a City are redefining what wine culture looks like today. That's an event I just attended in Miami. We're going to talk all about it. Let's get into it. Laura, welcome. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Paige. It's a pleasure to be here.
Talk a little bit about, Laura. Let's just start with what is it about it that connects us all from those milestones, those celebrations?
Ooh, I think wine as a whole is such a pivotal, just something that brings us all together. And so to have these amazing milestones of releasing such a gorgeous vintage like the 23 that we just celebrated in Miami, you get to see all of your hard work in a glass, and you get to watch everybody enjoy it. And so from my standpoint, watching it being harvested all the way to being enjoyed as a celebration, it's, I think, a little selfish for me. And I know when I talk to our winemaker and our vineyard manager as well too, it's just amazing to see your hard work pay off. And with the 23 vintage as well, it was a pivotal year for us to showcase how Mother Nature and amazing winemaking can come together to make, I think, one of the most exceptional vintages we've ever seen.
This is a big celebration, a big vintage that you're unveiling, and you kicked it all off in Miami a short time ago. Talk about this celebration. Why? What makes this vintage so unique, this 2023?
So 23 was really the start of El Nino for us. We had a very, very dry year in 22. It was the first time where I really saw our winemaker get a little upset, I think, because of how small amount of fruit that we brought in. The yields were very low. What we did bring in, it was very crucial for us to kind of turn lemons into lemonade at that point. And it was coming off of a year where we just felt very frustrated and really needing and being in a desperation point for rain. And so in 23 came in, we had an influx of rain from El Nino. We had almost double the amount of rainfall. Typically here on Daou Mountain, we'll get about 20 to 24 inches of rain throughout the entire year. And we got about 38 to 42 inches just in a 3-month time span. So for us, it was just a godsend vintage. And along with the rain, we had probably the most gradual, even ripening summer. For us as humans, it was beautiful, it was cool, it was everything that we've ever wanted in a California summer. And then the grapes just completely loved as well. So the balance in the wines are gorgeous, the phenolics in the wines are gorgeous. And so I think if you ask anybody from California that makes wine, they'll say it was one of the best vintages they've seen on record, just because everything went according to plan. It was Mother Nature finally was like, you guys deserve a very, very nice temperate summer. And we just were thriving. We had so many grapes that we really, as a state, were able to make some of the best wines we've ever made.
And we all now get to enjoy that. So soon on our shelves, we're going to see this 2023 Soul of a Lion, and you kick things off with a tour. Often it's our celebrities and musicians who get to tour, but no, it's this vintage that is now touring the country and starting in Miami. Why Miami?
Yes, when we were starting to really think of how do we introduce such a monumental vintage and an amazing wine in our portfolio that really is the heart and soul of who we are at Dow, we wanted to look at cities that also represented just the hard work that's being put in. Our brand and our founders, Daniel and George Daou, they came from Lebanon, immigrated into France, and then eventually made their way into America, into California, and they accomplished their American dream very early on. And we see the same in Miami, where everybody comes to make an amazing portion of their life, where they're able to come and thrive and make something of themselves. And there's so much just energy and electricity in that city. And we really felt that both of our brand and the city just go hand in hand, where there's just so much excitement and there's so much opportunity and adventure and just the whole entire city itself. This has been our third time, or at least my third time there. I just, every time I go, I realize I think I want to move there. It's just such an amazing time. And our wines are so well received out in Miami. So it was just, they go hand in hand, we think.
And where to next?
We're going to be in LA in April 23rd. We'll be at the Tao nightclub. It will be an extraordinary event. We have very high expectations now with Miami. We had an amazing turnout, amazing feedback, and I have at least high expectations of what LA should bring to the table, just because of just the electricity all night. It was so amazing to be there.
Oh, I'm sure. Onward and upward. LA is going to be phenomenal as well. You mentioned Dow Mountain. Tell us a little bit about it. I've seen photos, but when you say Dow Mountain, many people are not familiar with what that all entails.
Yes, so Dow Mountain, we are the highest elevated tasting room on the Central Coast. Dow Mountain, we are actually on a mountain. We're at 2,200 feet above sea level. And Paso Robles is right smack dab in between LA and San Francisco. So you can fly into LAX or SFO. It will take you the exact same amount of time to get here, depending on traffic. But it really is just the heart of California. We're the biggest wine region in the United States currently. We have over 40 miles in circumference of AVA. We have 60,000 acres planted. We are a gigantic AVA, and Dow Mountain is smack dab right in the Adelaida district. So we're the youngest, one of the youngest vineyard areas in California. All 11 of our AVAs were only established in 2014. So comparing ourselves to Napa or Sonoma, we're very, very young, but we have come busting through the door with an amazing amount of wine. We have over 60 varietals planted. And Dow Mountain in 2007, Daniel Daou found this mountain and established us as one of the best Cabernet Sauvignon regions in the entire world, and planted Bordeaux varietals, Napa varietals. And we really, really within 19 years have just come roaring with the soul of a lion, of showcasing that we really can stand toe to toe with some of the best Cabernet Sauvignons in the world.
What was it about that land that, you talk about in the wine industry, this sense of place? What was it about there that drew Daniel Daou and family to that specific location?
So Dow Mountain, it was originally founded by a gentleman named Stanley Hoffman. He was a cardiologist from Beverly Hills and wanted to retire and be a winemaker. Purchased 1,200 acres out here. There's no retirement in that purchase. And didn't know what to do. So he went up and went to Napa right when the Judgment of Paris happened, and met a crazy guy named Andrei Chelichev, who had begun really pushing the boundaries on winemaking and showing Napa winemakers how to plant their grapes, what grapes to plant, and how to make wine. And so Chelichev was a consultant for Stanley Hoffman in the 70s, and came down and originally sat on the ground. I imagine him licking a bunch of rocks and saying that this mountain is a jewel of ecological elements. And when Daniel was looking to find the appropriate place to plant Cabernet. He was looking for calcareous clay soil, just like in Bordeaux. He was looking for California sun to ripen everything beautifully. And then not only did he find those two things, but he also found a piece of property that the legend himself, Andrei Chelichev, said this is one of the most amazing pieces of land I've ever seen. So I always boast that serendipity really does sit at the top of this mountain, where every single thing you could ever want in your entire life to make a gorgeous glass is right here, and it's just been waiting for him. So in 2007, he actually had to Google where calcareous clay was, because Daniel at the time was looking all over the world for calcareous clay soils in every continent he can find. And thankfully, when Google was invented, he just ended up typing it in and realized it's in Paso. It's right down the street from me. So ended up finding it here.
Serendipitous, that's true. So if we're coming to visit, what can we expect in our glass for the tastings? What are some of, you mentioned the 60 varietals, but for the glass and the common consumer and folks who enjoy this glass of wine. So many of us see it on the menus across the country and around the world. But in terms of what you offer from the bottles, what is it?
Yeah, so here at the tasting room on the top of the mountain, we have a gorgeous tasting. We'll go through all of our reserve and our estate wines. So the wines that we find out, I say out in the world and out in the wild, those are our wines for our everyday drinking. So we wanted to make almost like we call it the pyramid of wines, where you can have your everyday luxury. You can take a little step up if you're feeling that you want to elevate your pizza night or have some friends over. And then for our estate collection, Soul of a Lion and Patrimony, that's where you're able to really dive deep into our 100% estate grown wines. So up here on the mountain, I just looked at the tasting menu. We are now offering some gorgeous of our 100% estate Sauvignon Blanc, a little Chardonnay, and then we have 3 wines that are winery exclusive up here on the mountain, which I highly recommend everybody come up here. The hospitality is second to none. We have a gorgeous selection of our Three Sisters Cabernet Sauvignon, our 1740, as well as Soul of a Lion too. So some of the wines that you can find out in the world, we do have up here, but it is very, very select on where we do have certain wines that are winery exclusive. But Reno Monferrato, who is our VP of hospitality here, has curated one of the most highly sought after hospitality experiences on the Central Coast here for wine. We not only have world-class wines, we have an amazing world-class culinary program as well.
When you talk about Soul of a Lion, I know in Miami, and you briefly mentioned it here, there's so much in that name, right? It's so strong, it's so powerful. Tell us a little bit about the history of the name Soul of a Lion.
It's my favorite story.
Okay.
So Daniel and George Daou, yeah, they left Lebanon when the civil war in Lebanon started in the 70s. So both of them, as well as the entire family of 7, were all badly injured in one of the very first airstrikes. So they had to flee and find a refugee camp up north in Paris. Thankfully, their mom had a French passport. So when they came out into America, it was really for them, their time to prove to their family and themselves that they're able to take the reins and take care of their family, just as their dad and their mom had taken care of them. So the brothers ended up coming out and going to school at UCSD and studying computer science in the early 80s, when computers were just coming online. And both of them started an amazing software company that was pretty much the start of the intranet, helped connect computers together for hospitals, patient record software, inter-hospital software. So it really was the expediting of information. And if you can imagine carrying your patient records from hospital to hospital, I would lose those in a heartbeat. So it was very crucial for the brothers to have everything be connected. And their dad was the first one to understand how crucial this company could be. So he ended up moving the entire family into a studio apartment, 7 people crammed in there in San Diego, and they started this software company and ended up selling it for their American dream 8 years later. And so Daniel really wanted to give his dad the best thank you he could, and wine was a amazing focal point for the family, especially in France. And their dad and Daniel would always, have a competition of who had better taste in wine. So every time his dad took a sip or said, "Ooh, this is amazing," Daniel would put that in the back of his brain and said, "I'm going to connect all of these oohs and ahs together in one glass, and you'll have it for the rest of your life." So the story goes, their dad, after Daniel had made his first vintage, was starting to lose his memory. And so he wanted to have these 2 ladies come in and interview him, write everything down, and almost create a family heirloom book, a storybook of their father's life and from his first memory all the way until now. So by the time they had finished the storybook and said, "Okay, we have everything, we just need a title. Do you want to name it Daou Legacy, Daou Family? What do you think?" And he said, "I would love to name it Soul of a Lion." And everyone was like, "Okay, we've never mentioned a lion in any of this. We've been to safari, but it's not anything that we've talked about." And he just said, "I recounted every memory of my entire life, and we've gone through incredible hardships. All of us have almost, died at one point. We've watched everybody just suffer the loss of our first home, and we've had our highest highs of eating like kings and traveling the world and being able to accomplish our American dream." And he said the one constant that I always realized was every time I doubted myself, I looked up from the dinner table and I saw my children's faces. I saw my wife. I saw how happy we were just being with each other, and I realized I can do anything. So every time he ever felt that he could not push forward, he said, I would find that grit and that voice that said, "Keep going." And so he said, I would always find the soul of a lion to keep roaring and keep family. So it's an amazing wine to showcase the love of a son to a father, but also a reflection of how far you can go to really ensure that your family's taken care of on both sides.
What a fabulous story. I see why it's your favorite. That is phenomenal and so personal and strong. So, as is the wine. What are you all hoping that everybody kind of takes from that sip in this special vintage or in any of the Daou varieties?
I think, just speaking on Soul of a Lion, it's a wine that I think goes against everything that I've ever known about Cabernet Sauvignon. Growing up, I think in wine, you hear Napa's the pinnacle of California, Bordeaux's the pinnacle of the world, and coming to a place that is in Paso, where a lot of people don't really know where Paso is. They don't know that Paso can make extraordinary wines. It's such a comfy and welcoming wine region where the seriousness of wine, I think, sometimes is overshadowed just by how much fun we are as well. Everybody doesn't understand just how amazing these wines are. And so, I mean, at least from my standpoint, coming up here and tasting the wines during my interview process, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, the wine is going to be good. I'll work up here because I love it. And once I tried them, I realized that I had to put my foot in my mouth because I never understood just how gorgeous and complex and balanced wines from this region can be. And so this wine, I always like to blind people on if we have more wines at the table, because they'll say, I only drink Napa, I only drink Bordeaux, I only drink this, I only drink that. And then once you try a sip of Soul of a Lion, you see people light up. And I love watching that understanding of, whoa, what is this? And it's Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, or Cab Franc and Petit Verdot. It's just three varietals blended together that just so happen to be from one of the most amazing wine regions that nobody hears of. And it's one of those wines that I love pouring because it really turns people's cheek and realize I've been missing out on a lot of really good wines. But even just the Cabernet Sauvignon that we can have at, the grocery store or Whole Foods or Total Wines, those wines, it's the number one selling luxury wine in the United States right now. And for a reason. It is complex, it's drinkable now, it's ageable. Every single person that tries it loves it, and we are so proud of that. And we hope to keep that momentum going for the rest of our portfolio as well too.
I believe it will. Laura, you mentioned your interview process. Tell us a little bit about your journey. You've kind of had your foot in it since childhood, growing up there in the region, I believe. But how did you get to Dow Mountain?
Oh, serendipity. I grew up in my high school years in Los Olivos, so right in San Ynez Valley, Santa Barbara wine country. So I grew up with friends that had parents in wine, and so we would help with harvest. We would just do anything we could to just go out and have fun with each other. And a lot of times it was free labor, I think, for their parents. But I started at a tasting room in San Ynez at a Merlot house during the 10-year anniversary of Sideways. So everybody didn't want to drink the Merlot. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I never watched the movie. Why are people saying, F Merlot? Like, it's so good. And I worked there for about 3 years. I was in their event coordinating aspect. I was in their wine club aspect, and moved down to Malibu after 3 years to take care of my grandma and worked at a place called Malibu Wine. So it was about 60 acres of vineyard in Malibu. One of the most amazing and challenging times of my life to work in an environment that was, I think, more party than anything else. I want people to take the wine and the vineyard seriously, and you're going out there for brunch and just having a fun time. But it was my first experience of ask and you shall receive. So I kept asking for different positions, and by the end of my 3 years stint there, I was assistant vineyard manager and production manager for their bulk wine line. And I was, 28 years old, standing with some amazing people in wine, and it was a lot of learn by doing. It was a lot of let's Google this. It was before, I wish ChatGPT was alive. I feel like I would have known a lot more. But the Malibu fire happened in 2018, 2019, and we lost that entire vineyard in about 20 minutes. So then I was able to help restructure, reorganize everything, and came up back to Santa Barbara after that and worked a cellar harvest. And the winemaker up there just kept saying, this guy Daniel is doing a lot of cool stuff. And so by the end of my cellar internship, I was like, who is this guy? I think I want to go to SLO and Paso and see what that's all about. And so he was like, this guy is doing amazing things. I keep hearing about him. He keeps posting all of his findings. So I saw that they had a job opening, went up there, and my half an hour interview turned into 5 hours, and I met every single person on the team, and it was the most intimidating tasting room to walk into because I had never seen such a grandiose but very welcoming. So I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. How is everybody so nice and the wines are so good, but where am I? And when Daniel came out and he tasted me on some of the wines, I was like, I get it. I totally get it. He's like everybody else, but just the smartest guy in the room.
and now you're home and quite a place and quite a team.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of your colleagues, and what a joy. And you can tell it's just comfortable, and everybody is so proud of what you're delivering. It makes you want to just, I mean, it's like it's go-to wine, right? It just makes it easy when you know who's creating it, who's working it, and the stories behind it. Um, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on where you are, and I just love all that you're doing and creating. So, um, for those who are looking for that bottle of wine, right? So many, whether you are so knowledgeable or you're just starting out um, in loving that taste of wine, when you walk into the store, what is your advice, your guidance? Because sometimes it can be overwhelming because there's so many amazing choices on the shelves. Uh, what do you say to that?
Yes. I think wine in general is such an intimidating subject. So whether you're in, a Publix or a Total Wine, you're standing in the wine aisle and you're thinking, okay, I need to make a decision fast because I look like deer in the headlights. There's 18 different Cabernets to choose from, and there's never a wrong answer. I think right now with the wine selections, at least when I go to Publix, which I love, by the way, I wish we had that out here in California. Um, it's a matter of go with your instincts. When I first got started out, I was choosing which label was prettier. And most of the times they were amazing wines in the label. I'd like to say if you try Daou and you don't know what to do, Daou is always the first choice because every single person at the table will like it. There is a very, very rare 1% that will, just stick to their one brand that they love. But the wine that we make is so universal, and we try to make it as balanced as possible. So if you have a Napa or Bordeaux lover, this glass of Cabernet will be universally loved. You'll want to buy 2 bottles because that first one goes really fast. Even with Chardonnay, the most polarizing wine known to man, whether you like Chablis or if you like a very, very buttery, oaky Chardonnay, our Chardonnay is that perfect middle ground. So I always say it's a really good compromise wine to whatever you're looking for. Our Sauvignon Blanc is fresh, it's gorgeous. You can have that New Zealand lover, you can have that Sancerre lover. So we try to make wines that no matter what happens, it's the easiest choice on the shelf. You see our name, you see our wine, just get it. You'll love it. And then you can start to expand and broaden your horizons. If you like Daou from Paso, you may see another Paso Robles Cabernet or Sauvignon Blanc or Chardonnay on the shelf. Explore. That's the whole point of wine, is to keep exploring and keep being as open to everything that you can, because that's where you find your little pockets, and you lose yourself into the world just like I have. But it's an extraordinary place to start, just with 1 bottle of Daou, and just see where you go with it.
And I love
It's
that,
like a
Laura.
drug.
Yeah, I love that you said everybody at the table will enjoy a glass of Dow. And I'm always looking to run and grab that safe gift, right? Just something that's so easy to bring to the dinner party, to put in the gift basket, Mother's Day, Father's Day, the holidays, right? It's just easy and safe and universal.
Mhm. You're a good friend to have. Yes. I know.
What am I missing from our conversation? Is there anything else that you wanted to share in terms of educating, highlighting, or just letting people know about Dow?
Dow, I think, I always get the question, I see you everywhere. Why would I want to choose you? My entire life is revolved around educating restaurants and our distribution team on how to sell our wines. And when I really think about being somebody that is on the other side, if you see us everywhere, it's probably a good thing. You know, everybody loves us, and I'm so incredibly happy to say that. I think it's something that is very humbling to have so many people enjoy this glass of wine from a very, very humble and comfy and amazing community of winemakers here in Paso Robles. But it is such a gorgeous, approachable, easy drinking glass that sometimes I think it's people question our the wine of you know, it's too easy drinking. It's like I'm sorry, that's the whole point. We want you to enjoy every glass. We hope that every single glass that you pour is with, you know, if it's by yourself or with somebody that you love, that you enjoy that, because we love and enjoy making it. And we hope that you feel the love that we pour into it, and we're just so happy every single day that it's so well received. So from my end, I'm internally grateful for this brand and this glass, and that I get to drink every single night when I go home as well too. So it's so much fun to share, and it's an amazing feeling to have everybody love it too.
Well, cheers to that. And I always say I'm a single mom of three, so I always say, people say, "How do you do it?" And I said, "Coffee in the morning and wine at night." So, you know, getting us through that, Laura. Just a little bit, you know.
Trust me, I know.
Moderation, right? Moderation and wellness. So it's okay. You can it can last a few days, but it's awesome. Well, thank you.
Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. How can we connect with you? How can we find, what are the websites and handles and?
Yes. So for Daou, or www.dowvineyards.com, we have our entire portfolio of wines. Please feel free, if you'd like, to reach out to me. I would love to help curate a wine selection for you if you're feeling adventurous and you want to deep dive into our portfolio. I'm laura.reynolds at tweglobal.com. All I do is talk about wine, drink wine, love wine, immerse myself in it. So please feel free to nerd out with me as much as possible. I have an amazing educational team as well up here too. So when you do decide to visit, please email me and we will curate an extraordinary experience, and you will get to stand at the top of the mountain and love us just as much as we do. So we're very, very excited to be able to share everything and continue on with the journey of just falling in love with wine.
Easy to do. Well, Laura Reynolds, brand ambassador and spokesperson and celebration extraordinaire for Daou Vineyards, and an amazing destination to visit. And until you can find it on the store shelves near you. So Laura, thank you so much. And we will speak again and hopefully toast again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all for tuning into the Paige Kornblue Show. I'm going to put all of those websites, those links, Laura's contact, on my website, paigekornblue.com. I always like to say Paige with an I and Kornblue with a K. It's all there for you. But until next time, everybody, cheers.